Welcome to all. So in this session we will see what is an object oriented programming, as well as we will see one code snippet of Java program. So in the last session I asked everyone to go through the concepts of object oriented programming and list out the features of C++. I'm not sure that everyone has gone through it, so that is the reason why I have listed out some of the concepts available in C++ or object oriented programming, so that you can brush up all the previous concepts or what are the concepts you have learned in your previous semesters. Okay, now let us concentrate on object oriented programming. What is an object oriented programming? See, object oriented programming is at the core of Java. They say like that because see, Java is also an object oriented programming. See, whenever we say object oriented programming, you have to think everything as an object. Okay, so that is the reason why they say that it is a core of Java. All computer programs consist of two elements, code and data. It is understood that if you are writing any program, definitely you will be having n number of instructions or n number of codes. Okay, why you are writing code? Just to manipulate the data, isn't it? To handle the data or to perform some tasks. That is the reason why you write programs, isn't it? Say if I ask you to write a program to add two numbers, what exactly you are doing? You are writing some code so that that code or that program can add two numbers, isn't it? You should take the input from the user and you can perform some action and you can put that particular result to the output screen, isn't it? That is that is what you are doing. That is the reason why you write programs, isn't it? In the same fashion, that is the reason why they say all computer programs consist of two elements, code and data. Definitely those two paradigms should be there for all the computer programs. So you have two types over there. One is process oriented model and second one is object oriented programming. So whenever I say process oriented model, so it will see what it will do. So the code will be acting on data in process oriented model. So that means whenever you write some code, obviously it will act on data, whatever the data you provide or whatever the data user has provided or whatever the data which is available and you are trying to manipulate or you are going to process that particular data using process oriented model. But when it comes for object oriented programming, what you are doing, as everything is an object, you will create some interface for data, isn't it? So you will organize a program around its data, whatever the data you are going to consider. So that is the difference between object oriented as well as process oriented model. Now the next thing is abstraction. See, what is abstraction? It is one of the feature listed out in object oriented programming, isn't it? Can you recall your previous semester's concepts? So abstraction is nothing but a powerful way to manage abstraction is through the use of hierarchical classification. See, ultimately abstraction is important where if the system is complex or if you have some hardest part of your calculation or finding the solution for any problem, then that complex system or complex problem can be categorized into smaller pieces, or you can divide or you can catalyze that complex program. It may be program or a problem or a system, complex system can be categorized into what is that, you can make it smaller pieces so that you can concentrate on that smaller pieces. You can find the solution to that particular part and then at the end you can consolidate all the pieces into one and you can get a better application, isn't it? So it is something like divide and conquer rule, isn't it? Have you ever thought of that divide and conquer rule? So in program also you will be having in some sorting algorithm also uses divide and conquer technique. So that is nothing but abstraction. Okay, the next thing is, see, there are three object oriented programming principles. Okay, first one is encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Encapsulation is the mechanism that binds together code and the data it manipulates. So ultimately it is going to bind your code as well as data. Why it has to be why it is going to bind? Because your data or code, it should not be misused. It should not be taken by the third party people so that they can manipulate your code or data and they can get into your system or get into your application, and they should not harm your system. So there are so many concepts where your code and data plays a greater role. Okay, so that is the reason why encapsulation is one of the principle or feature, I can say feature also, object oriented. It is one of the feature available in object oriented programming. The next one is inheritance. So you can recall your previous concepts. Inheritance is nothing but what exactly you are doing. So there will be a base class, there will be a derived class. So from the base class you are going to inherit the features. It may be any features, it may be variable, methods or functions, anything. So if it is having the, if your base class is having all those information, that can be fetched to the derived class. So instead of using fetched word, I can say inheriting. Okay, so ultimately inheritance is the process by which one object acquires the properties of another object. See, properties is nothing but what is it? It may be a variable value, it may be a method. So based on the access specifiers, you can access all the information which is being stored in your base class. The derived class will be accessing it. Okay, you have to recall your previous things. I cannot explain each and everything from the scratch. Okay, now this is important because it supports the concept of hierarchical classification. See, in the below two images you can see in the right hand side the types of inheritance they have listed over there. See, first one is single inheritance, then multiple inheritance, hybrid inheritance, multi-level inheritance and hierarchical inheritance. Okay, those are the types of inheritance which is available in object oriented programming. In left hand side, what you can see there is a class F. It is a parent class or base class. So parent F and class B and class E is derived from class F, and class A and class C is derived from class B. So ultimately that left hand side picture represents hybrid inheritance, isn't it? There are combination of two different inheritances. Correct? So that is the example you can think of. So there will be a base class as well as derived class. Ultimately derived class will acquires all the properties of base class. Okay, so that is the meaning of inheritance. Now the next thing is polymorphism. See, polymorphism, see, poly means many, isn't it? Morphism is nothing but forms. So it is a Greek word. Why polymorphism is important? So it is one of the features which is available in your object oriented programming, and the feature that allows one interface to be used for general class of actions. So you can see that image. See, there is the class called shape, and you have one function called function or method. See, in C++ or in object oriented rest of the programming, that we make use of the terminology like functions, but when it comes for Java or C#, so we use methods. Both are same, don't get confused. Function is same, function, you see we can use two terminologies, either function or methods. Okay, both are same. Fine. In Java and C# we usually make use of methods, or that is just a terminology, nothing else. Okay, don't get confused. So you have area method, isn't it? So area method can be used for three different tasks. One is to draw circle, another one is to draw triangle, last one is to draw rectangle. See, ultimately you will be using same method name, area, and you are going to pass separate values, isn't it? As a parameter you are going to pass separate values to that method. So same name can be used for different tasks. That is nothing but polymorphism. You would have done the same concepts, you would have written code in your C++ subject, isn't it? You can recall all those things. Fine. Now this is the first simple program of Java. Okay, you can see there is a comment saying that this is a simple Java program, and call this file as example.java. See, always remember, whenever you write a program, the file name or the extension for that Java program must be .java. It is the extension used for Java programs. So it is nothing but the syntax will be like file name .java. Fine. So next you can see the code. So as it is an object oriented programming, it is not like C++. You are not starting with the main. So ultimately each and everything has to be inside the class. Your main method also will be inside the class. See, again I will say main function in C++, you used to say that main is a function which is being started always it will be the first function to call. But in Java, instead of using function word, I use method. So main method, main is a function, function, or in Java I am going to use the word like method, main method. Fine. So main method is inside the class example. Why I have given that example, the name example? See, whatever the class name you use in, whenever you are writing any main program, whatever the class name you use, the same name has to be given as a file name, remember. So call this file name as, in the above line you can see, call this file like example.java. So whenever you say file name as example, the same name should be used for class also, otherwise your Java program will never run. Remember that whenever you try to execute, see, everything we will do in lab, no need to worry, this is just a theoretical part. I am going to present all these PPTs as a theoretical part. Whenever you do the program, whenever you execute the program, you will get the better picture. Okay. Now class name, class is a keyword, and after the class you are going to give the name as class name as example. Okay, you are going to open the braces, then public static void main. So it is not just void main, or it is not just int main. So you should specify like public space static space void space main. See, why public? Because your main method has to be called, isn't it? You should not restrict that. You should not give any access specified to that. You should give the permission to the public so that main method can be called. Now why that static keyword is used for that main? Because see, when you are using static keyword, so it may be for variable or method or functions, you use static keyword, isn't it? Why you are using it? So static, if you use the static keyword, so yeah, the memory management will be very easy. Okay, then one more thing is, whenever you use static keyword, so for every instance of a class, the same method can be accessed, same method can be called. Okay, it will be a constant, it will be like a constant one. Fine. So that is the reason why you use static keyword. So ultimately you have to remember this must be the line. You cannot change the line for the main method. So it is something like public space static space void space main. Why void? So main method will not return anything. You don't have any return type. That is the reason why you have given void over there. Fine. Next, main is a method name or function name. In the brackets, see, you have string and args. What is args? It is arguments. So string is a, what is string? String is a data type, isn't it? So what is args, arguments? So whenever you are running a particular program in terminal, if you want to give any if you want to give any values, or if you want to pass any values to that main method, then this value will sit in that args array, arguments array. Fine. So this array is a string array. So whatever the data you provide in your terminal, the same value will sit in that args array. But if you are not giving anything, if you are directly running this Java program, you don't need to worry. But as a standard set of code, you have to specify in the same fashion. And you can you can observe one more thing. String, there in the string, yes is a capital letter, isn't it? It is in a uppercase. So you have to remember one more thing. Java is a case sensitive language. So if it is something has to be mentioned in the same way, it has to be mentioned in that way only. If you change, you are going to get the error, and you may not able to run the program. You may not able to execute the program. You may not get the output. So remember, Java is a case sensitive language. Fine. After that, after writing the main method, you are going to open the braces. Then you can see something, special line, isn't it? It is something like system.out.println. See, in C programming, what you have done? You used to use printf, isn't it? To print something, you used to use printf. In C++, what you did? Cout, isn't it? You were using cout object, correct? Isn't it? Cout is an object. In object oriented programming, if everything is object, cout also an object. But printf was a function in C. Whenever you write a C program, you used to use printf, right, to print something on the terminal or on the monitor. So you were using printf, that was a function, but in C++ you used cout, that was an object. But in Java you have to use system.out.println to print anything on the screen. Okay, so whenever you can see one thing in that line, you used two dots. Ultimately it is like you are accessing some class concepts, right? Using object, you are trying to access functions or methods available in the class. Can you remember because to all the classes you used to use, you used to create objects. Using objects you used to get the functions which were available in that classes, inside the class, isn't it? In C++ you would have written so many programs, but in Java what you have to do, you have to print something, you have to follow the same step. And one more thing you can observe, in system keyword S is uppercase, isn't it? You have to use the uppercase system, it's uppercase S itself, otherwise you may not be able to run the program. You have to observe all these things, which is uppercase, which is in a lower case. If you make any mistake in that cases, then definitely you may not be able to run the program. Understood? So system.out.println. So println is nothing but print the line. Okay, so println, you are going to out it, you are going to out means you are going to put that particular information on the screen or on the monitor. Fine. So what you are going to print, this is a simple Java program. So if you run this code snippet, you are going to get the output as this is a simple Java program. So the same output will be reflecting on your monitor. Now how to run, we will see in the next slide. See, there are some informations which are given for that particular program. See, first point is name of the source file should be example.java itself. Why? Because you have given the class name as example. Can you see here? Can you see the third line? Class example. Whatever the name you give to that class, which is having the method main, then the same name has to be given for your file name also. That is the reason why in the first point they have said name of the source file should be example.java. So for example, if you give your name, say for example class space some say for example Ajay, if you give the class name as Ajay and if you write the program, then your file name must be ajay.java. Fine, that is the meaning. Okay, in the next point, in Java the source file is officially called compilation unit. Okay, what is that source file? Source file is nothing but whatever the program you write, isn't it? It is a text file that contains one or more class definition. The Java compiler requires that a source file use the .java file extension. Definitely you are going to give this particular file name .java file to a compiler so that you can get the bytecode. Can you recall that concept of bytecode? I already said whenever you give your Java file or Java programming file to a particular compiler, it is going to create a bytecode. That bytecode is platform independent. You can run that bytecode or you can portable. You can take that particular bytecode to any system which is having the JVM where you can execute that particular Java program. In the previous session, in the previous video, I already explained this. Okay, the next point is, as you can see by looking at the program, the name of the class defined by the program is also example. This was, this is what I was just trying to explain. Okay, in Java, all code must reside inside the class. By convention, the name of that class should match the name of the file that holds the program. Definitely everything has to be inside the class. That is the reason why your main method or your main function also inside the class. Okay, you have to remember, it is not like rest of the programming language. It is not like C or C++ where you are directly writing the main program and you are trying to execute the program. In Java you cannot do that. In Java, if you want to use main function, or main method, it has to be inside a particular class itself. Otherwise you may not get the output. Remember this point. Okay, the last point is, the reason for this is Java is a case sensitive. Definitely, I already said this. It is Java is a case sensitive language where you have to use uppercase, where you have to use lowercase, and if you declare any variable with some fashion, the same in the same fashion you have to use that particular variable throughout the program. Remember this. That is the reason why we say Java is a case sensitive language. Okay, the next thing is how to compile the program. So I will say how to compile the program and I will wind up this session. Okay, the first point is, to compile the example program, execute the compiler Java C, specifying the name of the source file on the command line. Okay, so Java C is nothing but a compiler. See, Java, see where it will be, where the compiler will be. So before running any particular Java program, you need JDK. You need a platform to run your Java program. You need a JVM, isn't it? Correct. So in the previous example, I said that without JVM you cannot run the Java program. Ultimately, if you do not have the JDK, that development kit, Java development kit, then you may not be able to run the Java program. So this Java C compiler will reside in that particular kit. So if you install that kit in your system, definitely you can run your Java program. How to run the Java program? You have to open the terminal, you have to go to that command line, you have to type the code like java c space example.java. What is the meaning of that line? You are saying that please compile my Java program with the name example.java. That is the meaning, isn't it? You are running that command. After running this command, what happens? In the previous session only I said, once you compile your Java program, you are going to get the bytecode. Bytecode will be in the extension .class. See, the Java C compiler creates a file called example.class. Fine. Example.class is nothing but a bytecode. It will contain a bytecode version of the program. Once you get the bytecode, you can port that bytecode to any platform which has got JVM or Java support, and you can execute that particular bytecode or that program. You don't need to compile again. See, the problem is if you compile the program again and again, it will be time consuming one, isn't it? So if you don't want to waste your time, or if you don't want to waste the system time, this is the better option. You can just take the bytecode and you can execute your program. That is the speciality of Java. That is the speciality of bytecode. That is the reason why I said it is a magic word, Java's magic word. Okay, that is the power of bytecode. As discussed earlier, Java bytecode is the intermediate representation of your program that contains instructions the Java virtual machine will execute. This was the explanation I have given in your previous session as well as in this session. Okay, they have just given in a standard way. That's it. Okay, the next point is to actually run the program, you must use the Java application launcher called Java. To do so, pass the class name example as a command line argument. So what you have to do, once you have compiled your Java program, once you got your bytecode, you just have to use Java. It's an application launcher. Java should have, that system should have Java application launcher, and you have to use the command line argument. You have to use the command or terminal, and you have to use the command like Java space example. What is that example? Example is nothing but your example.class. Fine, you are going to use that bytecode itself. So once you do that Java space example, what will be the output? You are going to get the output as this is a simple Java program, isn't it? That is what you have written the code. See, this is a simple Java program. Why? Because you have used in the double quotes and you used this particular line, system.out.println. So in the terminal, you are going to see the output as this is a simple Java program. Fine. So this is how you are going to compile and run the Java program. So if you have the system in your home, you can install JDK. You can try to run this. You can write the particular Java program in any notepad. You can save that particular Java program with some file name .java extension. You can compile Java file, and you can try to run the Java program. Okay, if you do not have the system, once the college reopens, whenever we go to lab, we can write and we can execute the program. No need to worry much, but you have to remember these steps. Fine. So let me wind up this session here itself. So we will discuss the rest of the concepts in the next video. Thanks for watching.